Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead, and welcome to episode 133, Writing Post-Tenure. For this episode, I just have one slide to share, and for those of you that are listening to it audio only, it talks about it shows four different strategies for thinking about projects writing post-tenure. I was inspired by this episode to talk about these strategies because many of our clients for Defend, Publish, and Lead that have come to us in the last 6 months have been clients that already have achieved tenure. They are at associate rank, and then they're wondering what types of writing projects to work on once they already have tenure. And one of the reasons this commonly comes up is that with tenure certainly comes a certain amount of freedom to be able to pursue different types of writing projects, but also a little bit of wonder about what to do. Is it okay to switch research agendas, for example? Is it okay to publish in other disciplines? Is it okay to not worry about the top tier journals anymore? And so I read a bunch of articles about writing post-tenure, and I consolidated a couple of strategies into a chart that I think might be helpful for thinking through this. So there are four strategies on the chart or four directions you might go on the chart, which I'll walk through for people listening audio only. But essentially, if we think through four different ways post-tenure writing might look, one area that sometimes post-tenure scholars go to is long game projects or long-term projects. And essentially, there is some freedom in not having a tenure clock. For those of you that are going for an additional promotion to full professor, for many people at that time, the clock starts over again. So there's another 6 to 8 years, sometimes 10, depending on your institution, for applying for a full professor after associate rank. But in general, you just have a little bit more time to enjoy the process of doing certain writing projects versus worrying about a tenure clock. So this might be that you can enjoy working on long-term studies or projects that take several years without worry that something might not be able to get accomplished in time for it to count for tenure. This was certainly the case when I did a long-term project where I collected time use diaries for 18 months. And I was able to do that because I knew I'd have the time to collect all the data and then time to write about it as I was working on it, but also after. So if you're somebody that's on a tenure track and you've got 6 to 7 years to work, you may not be able to do a long-term study where you have to wait a couple of years to get the data and the results. You just may not have the time. But during the post-tenure process, certainly a long game project might be something to look at. So something that's going to be worth it farther out. So that might be one way to think about what you might want to work on. What's a project that you want to do that will take a little bit longer? A second thing to think about would be a best venue for your purpose. So one of the things that's helpful post-tenure is to think about, instead of maybe the highest tier journal or the one that's going to publish your work the fastest, you could think about more types of journals or more types of outlets for publishing your work. You might decide to create even your own venue, so your own book, your own edited collection, your own journal. You might even found your own journal. You might have a space where you're blogging about your research regularly. You might be putting things out in preprints that maybe you didn't do before as a scholar because you didn't have the time, or you worried that maybe your work would get scooped before you got tenure. Now you can really consider the best venues for the purpose of the project that you're working on. So first one was long-term projects. The second one is you could think through the best venues for your purpose. A third one would be interdisciplinary work. Many institutions, especially our ones, have you working within your discipline. You might have a research agenda that's already been established or approved at that institution, but now you can do some exploration of secondary or related fields. You might broaden your research agenda. So maybe if you were working in one area, you could now work in another. That's another thing that I did post-tenure. I started working more with faculty writing studies, which was something that I was interested in. I wasn't really interested in some of the things that I started my assistant professor position with. So I was very interested in that time with a lot of things with computers and writing. And it's not that I'm not interested in that, but I wanted to explore some other directions beyond that narrow scope. Something else that happened post-tenure was that I started looking at faculty development work because that is an administrative position that I hold at my university. So that could be something that you might look at. Maybe there's a strand of SOTL research, so scholarship of teaching and learning, if you want to do some writing about your teaching. But in general, this is a good time to shift gears. If you're no longer interested in your line of research, you want to branch out, this could be a way to do that. And then finally, a fourth thing to look at would be looking at a dream project that you might want to do within your discipline. So I've talked about before how the book that I published in 2018, How Writing Faculty Write, was a dream project of mine that I knew I couldn't do until I had tenure. And after hitting tenure, and kind of at the same time as getting tenure and promotion to associate, I also picked up heavy administrative duties where I supervised both the first year writing program and a graduate program that I founded in 2013. So I didn't do my dream project for a couple of years, but I was able to do it once I completed those administrative activities, or at least the writing program administration. So doing a dream project in your discipline might be something that's feasible and possible now. So if you're somebody that's just achieved tenure or promotion to associate rank, and you're not really sure of the direction you want to go next, you might consider exploring one of these four avenues: something interdisciplinary, something that is a dream project in your discipline, something that maybe is long-term research. Hopefully these are helpful this week, and happy writing.